เป็นภาษาไทยได้ไหมคะ
เสียงดังนะพูดเสียงดัง
ขอธรรมะสอนให้กับแม่ได้ใช้เวลาที่เหลือของชีวิตอย่างมีปัญญาที่สุดแม่อายุ80 ปี
เป็นโยมแม่
เป็นค่ะ
นั่นก็ไม่รู้ภาษาอังกฤษนะเรื่องปัญญาเห็นไหมแล้วว่าพิจารณาว่าอายุมากแล้วนะอันตมาเองนะเดี๋ยวก็เห็นว่าอีกไม่นานจะตายนะถึงมาแล้วก็พระพุทธเจ้าก็แนะนำวิธีที่จะพิจารณาสิ่งที่เป็นธรรมชาติด้วยนะให้จะเอาปัญญามาอบรมจิตพอส่วนมากนะจิตมันอบรมจิตด้วยอวิชชาไม่เห็นธรรมไม่รู้ธรรมเห็นแต่โลกียธรรมเท่านั้นมีความสุขทุกข์อะไรเกิดขึ้นตามตาหูจมูกลิ้นกายจิตใจก็เห็นว่าเป็นโลกียธรรมเป็นเรื่องของโลกนะแล้วก็ส่วนมากเลยก็ไม่คนที่เอาปัญญามาอบรมเด็กมันส่วนน้อยพอทรงใช้สติสัมปชัญญะสติปัญญาความสามารถของเราที่จะพิจารณาอารมณ์ในปัจจุบันเป็นอย่างไรเพื่อจะรับรู้ไม่ใช่ตัวตนไม่ใช่ดีชั่วเป็นอนิจจังทุกขังอนัตตาเอาตายหลักมาเป็นวิธีที่จะรับรู้สังขารอารมณ์ในจิตในปัจจุบันเป็นอย่างนี้แล้วก็อาศัยแต่พระพุทธพระธรรมพระสงฆ์ของอาโยมแม่ก็ที่พึงอาศัยที่อาศัยกันที่เวลาถึงวาระถึงเวลาจะแก่ไปเจ็บไปแก่ตายก็ถ้าอยู่กับพระพุทธพระธรรมพระสงฆ์คงจะดีนะเป็นที่ปลอดภัยแล้วก็โยมเป็นคนไทยเกิดในเมืองไทยแล้วก็วัฒนธรรมไทยมันสอดคล้องกันกับคำสอนพระพุทธเจ้าแล้วก็มันเป็นบารมีที่จะโยมจะมีโอกาสตามวัฒนธรรมของเมืองไทยที่จะอยู่ใกล้ชิดพุทธศาสนาในเมืองไทยนะแต่เมืองไทยเดี๋ยวนี้ก็เปลี่ยนแปลงไปมากสังคมก็คงจะโยมก็สังเกตดูแล้วก็สังคมเปลี่ยนแปลงอย่างที่เราไม่รู้จะเป็นอย่างไรต่อไปข้างหน้าแล้วก็เราก็บางคนไทยหลายคนก็สงสัยมากนี่ต่อไปข้างหน้าอนาคตจะเป็นอย่างไรนะเวลาในรุ่นไปแล้วก็เราจะเปลี่ยนแปลงอย่างไรเกิดความสงสัยเกิดความกลัวอนาคตก็ได้นะแต่สิ่งที่อาศัยกันในปัจจุบันคือรู้มันเป็นอารมณ์สงสัยอนาคตกลัวอนาคตก็เป็นอารมณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นดับไปเป็นอนิจจังอบรมจิตด้วยปัญญาอย่างนี้โยมก็จะเห็นถึงเวลาที่โยมจะตายไปคงจะไม่กลัวนะไม่มีอะไรที่จะกลัวเลยนะพออยู่กับพระพุทธพระธรรมพระสงฆ์เป็นที่พึ่งอาศัยเป็นอมตะธรรมมันไม่ได้เป็นเรื่องเกิดตายนะไม่ได้เป็นเรื่องอดีตการหรืออนาคตอะไรเป็นเรื่องปัจจุบัน เป็นความรู้เป็นเรื่องพุทโธรู้ปัจจุบันเห็นธรรมแล้วก็เป็นผู้ปฏิบัตินี่ปฏิบัติโชคเป็นสุปฏิปันโนนะขอให้โยมแม่มีความสุขสบายใจนะ
Long question. I'm recently new to Buddhism, probably 5 or 6 years. Before that, I was a typical Aussie, drinking, going on, what have you. I tend to do a lot of merit in the last 4 or 5 years, and I keep getting a lot of bad karma coming up. A lot, as far as work's concerned, and different things, injuries, things like that. And I sometimes sit there and think, why am I doing this? Nothing's good's coming out of all this. I keep doing all this good, but all bad keeps coming to me. Sometimes I get angry, sometimes disappointment comes up, all these bad feelings come up. How do I stop all these feelings from coming up and eating away at me?
Well, it's really to just trust your awareness of them. I mean, conditions change, you know, and like when you think about making merit or doing good works, if we want a good result, then we tend to, so many times we get disappointed, but just appreciate the generosity, the goodness that you experience when you do good things for others, for the Sangha, for society, and begin to recognize the joy of giving, and that increases, that's training yourself to recognize that selfless giving is happiness. And then result karma arises, but see it in terms of it's just to see it in terms of the way it affects you, you know, to not criticize yourself or others, but just be aware of what you're feeling. Disappointment, despair, self-doubt, anger, whatever, especially the negative conditions. Be more trusting in your awareness. They are what they are, and we're not trying to justify or explain or analyze them, but just learn to trust your awareness of them, that they come and go and change. It's when you don't want them, and you want something else, that you suffer. But always experience in our lives disappointment, despair. It's just part of human condition. I remember when I was 20, thinking I was so optimistic and so conceited. By the time I was 30, I was so terribly disappointed because all my efforts at creating a new world and making a better world than the one I perceived when I was 20 had failed, and I wasn't any better person, so that's one of the things that directed me to Buddhism, to the Buddhist monastery. And now, and even in being a Buddhist monk for 50 years, I look back and mainly I remember the good times. I don't have strong memories of the disappointments or the things to resent so much as the positive results of the life. But monastic life, you experience a lot of things don't go the way you want, or you get criticized, or people spread rumors about you. Your best friends betray you. I mean, it's just part of being human. It's not like it only happens to lay people. But monks are training themselves to use the situation more with wisdom than being caught up in just resentment, anger, and depression. I mean, meeting old people in the UK. I remember one woman belonged to the Buddhist Society in London. She was an elderly woman, was very active in flower arranging. She loved flowers. In a Buddhist society, they have a summer school every year, and she'd be there, always very positive. But when she started failing her health, and she became really angry because she thought that she'd get out of all that, out of the pain and the fear of dying. But she was absolutely terrified of it. She wouldn't talk to any of us. I tried to visit her, and Ajahn tried to go see her, but she just totally rejected, and that was, she wasn't aware of what she was feeling. I mean, you can't help what you feel. I mean, you may not feel the way you want to, but it is the way it is, and that's enough to know, with wisdom, to inform yourself, to inform your consciousness with wisdom is what meditation is all about.
Would you like to share with us some? I have seen it 25 years ago, you were so bright, and even though you are, I have seen the difference, but you seem to be very happy and contented. And so, what advice you can give us how to cope with the whole day with that attitude?
Well, it's been I look back at being a monk for 50 years I'm very grateful. I have a lot of gratitude because, I've lived my life, I won't be living much longer, but I feel I've learned what I need to learn. I've not wasted this incarnation, this lifetime. And then I found it was I ordained as a Sumedho when I was 31 years old. And I was becoming increasingly, at 30, 29, 30, I was becoming increasingly more kind of depressed and feeling life has no point to it, and very self-critical. And so then I noticed when I started even as a lay person in Bangkok, when I worked for 6 months teaching English in Bangkok, and I'd meet other Buddhists, and it started developing this interest in Dhamma, which was something I really found, was what was left for me was that. I didn't have any worldly ambitions, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know anything about Thailand at the time, so I didn't even know if they would accept foreigners in this. And my main interest before that was in Zen Buddhism, Japanese type West Coast American Zen Buddhism. But going to Thailand and then ordaining as a Sumedho, doors started opening up for me that I never expected. And the following year, 1967, I met Ajahn, and he was, he's a very wise, enlightened teacher, and just through a series of coincidences, because he was not very famous then. In Bangkok, nobody had ever heard of him. So he was not on the list of great teachers in 1967, according to the expatriate Buddhist community in Thailand. But, through karma, through fate, destiny, coincidence, however you want to explain it, I was fortunate in meeting him. And then, I wanted to learn how to make it work. I mean, I'd read a lot of Buddhism. I was corresponding with the Buddhist Publication Society in Kandy, and with Bhante Sri Dhammananda in Kuala Lumpur, and in Bangkok World Fellowship of Buddhists. So I was reading a lot of the scriptural teaching, which, inspired me, but I really wanted to put it into practice. And so that's why I went to Thailand, mainly to find a place some teacher to show me what to do, because I tried practicing meditation just in my own way, and it didn't work. I could sit for about 5 minutes, and that was more than I could stand it, just trying to do it all on my own. And so then, meeting somebody like Ajahn Chah, really was another coincidence, destiny, maybe, I don't know. But I could learn from him, and it was, it is strange, because I couldn't speak the language. We didn't have a common language. He couldn't speak English. But you're working in a different way, more on the intuitive level with meditation than just on the intellectual level. Because I had a good understanding of Four Noble Truths by the time I met him, on the intellectual plane, on the Mariyati level. I understood it quite well, but that doesn't change anything other than it inspires, it gives you faith. And I needed to develop wisdom. And then, when, you take refuge in Buddha Dhamma Sangha, you're taking refuge, I keep pointing out to people that it's the only refuge is a safe place to be. When you seek refuge, you go to a place that's safe. And the only really safe place is in Buddha Dhamma Sangha, which is here. It's not some kind of mystical force out there in space, but it's in mindfulness, wisdom, and that's the essence of the teaching. It's a wisdom teaching. So you live your life, like even in the Tripitaka, the suttas, the Buddha, after enlightenment had to deal with all kinds of social problems, jealous monks and scandals and difficult bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and all the rest, so he didn't kind of ignore or pass over the problems of a society or the situation you're in, but he didn't suffer from them. I mean, he had the patience, the wisdom to deal with the problems of life through wisdom rather than through just running away or getting caught up with resentment or anger at being blamed for things he didn't do or whatever. Because, if we don't know this, then when you're blamed, especially if you're blamed for something you've never done, I mean, that really makes me angry when I get blamed for something that I didn't do or didn't say. And it was a righteous indignation. But you learn how to be aware that you can still feel that emotion, but your relationship to it changes from just following it or repressing it to observing, patiently allowing it to be what it is, and then everything takes you to the deathless, to amatta Dhamma, if you allow it. So even your anger or resentment that arises, any condition that you're experiencing in the present is changing, and if you allow it to change, then it'll take you to the deathless, to the amatta Dhamma. And this is where the wisdom operates. It's non-personal. It's not. You can't claim it as a personal achievement. It's Buddha-Dhamma Sangha rather than Ajahn Sumedho or Ajahn, whatever.
Ajahn, could you speak a little on the word Pancha Dhamma Dhamma? Is that correct word at the present moment?
Pachubana Dhamma.
That's the one. And Appamada, heedfulness, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, teaching like in Thailand, for example, or in Sri Lanka, the same. The culture is so integrated into Pali Buddhism that a lot of terms, there's a lot of Pali terms that are used in the Thai language. And then in the West, you get used to the Pali terms, and when you go, like when I went to live in England, first, I learned to meditate and learn so much of the teaching through Thai language and through Pali. And I remember the first year in London trying to figure out how to get it all in proper English terminologies that are, I didn't want to mislead people, but I couldn't use the Pali or Thai terms because they wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. So the first several years were just like a struggle because when you have insight, direct insight into Dhamma, then a lot of the translations of Pali in English don't resonate as being that accurate. There's a lot of the Buddhist Pali Text Society in London, most of those who translated the Pitaka into English never practiced it, never practiced meditation. So they were good, they were scholars, and their translation was adequate. Sometimes it was misleading, but it gave us something to work with that you had in the English language. But then, as you put it into practice in the BuddhaBodhivana, then of course you have insight, and insights aren't about language anymore. You don't experience insight with the English language or Thai language or Pali, but it's a knowing, a direct knowing, and then you try to find, like when you're using English, English word fits that. Sometimes it's not all that easy, because English is a language developed through Christianity, Judaism, modern science. It's a commercial language. Whereas a Sinhala or Thai, Burmese, they're very much mixed with Pali, Sanskrit terms. So, like in Thai, a lot of the words you use when you're giving Dhammadesanas are Pali words that are used in the Thai context. But the Thais understand them, because it's part of their culture. Culture makes a great deal of difference. Because I could see, like living with Luang Por Chah, how my thinking, my intellect was formed through, I was brought up as a Christian, and then the generation was all about science. This was the kind of God held up in modern education in America. And reason, logic, Western science, empirical science. And then the lineage is influenced very much by Christian, Jewish concepts from the Bible. And so your cultural conditioning affects how you interpret Pali or how you interpret Buddhism. And the first three fetters, the fetters, Sangyojanas, that 10 fetters, and the first three are the obstacles to stream entry, to seeing the path clearly, the Eightfold Path. And they're all about the artificial identities that human society makes. Like Sakya Ditti, the first one is like the ego, or identity with the physical body as me and mine. And the whole, then these are, and the sense of self is very much based on cultural conditioning too. Like in the American context of my generation, it was when you went into high school and university, you were studying Freud and Jung and these psychologists, and there were all these books for sale on kind of analyzing yourself and using these kind of early concepts of psychology as your way of interpreting your own life problems and the world around you. So, and then logic and reason is highly developed in the modern Western world, modern philosophies. And in BuddhaBodhivana, you're using intuition rather than reason and logic, or wisdom rather than reason and logic. And at first, I didn't quite know what that was, because when you try to define wisdom, then you think of it as something you acquire. You acquire wisdom from external sources, from reading Plato and Aristotle or whatever. And then you see wisdom as something to get rather than to use, where the whole attitude of meditation is to use wisdom, because that's the basic nature of consciousness. Wisdom and consciousness one. So it comes, it's a different way of looking and interpreting experience. The second Sangyojana or fetter is Sila BuddhaBodhivana, and that's like cultural conditioning. A lot of cultural conditioning is not particularly like ego or that, but it's just attitudes, assumptions that you get from being born into the family you're born into, the ethnic background, the religious background, the cultural background. It affects your generation is part of that. And then the third fetter is doubt, which is, the result of attachment to thinking, trying to figure everything out with reason and logic and analysis, using the thinking mind to resolve conflicts and get answers to questions and resolutions to problems. But thinking, you go to any modern university, it's filled with doubting people because they think all the time. And Lumpur Charles told me, he said, I asked him what the word for crazy was in Thai, and he said, one who thinks too much. And I thought, that's me, I'm crazy actually. Describes me, because I was an obsessed thinker, but also a doubter. That's why I couldn't accept like theistic religions, because I couldn't stop doubting. And skeptical tendency, where in Theravada Buddhism the third fetter is doubt, and you don't try to suppress it, but you recognize that which is aware of doubt is the wisdom aligned with consciousness. Doubt arises and ceases. It's not like that, and we see it in terms of a sankhara, what it actually is, rather than as some kind of personal problem. Where before I felt it was a personal problem. One of my emotional problems was doubt, anxiety, worry, and I thought always in terms of interpreting this skeptical tendency in terms of some kind of flaw, something, a screw missing, or something. Didn't get a full deck of cards. I took it quite personally, because everybody else, my mother, father, sister, all devout Christians, and didn't doubt anything that I could doubt. But I certainly have that tendency. But in Buddhism, that's why I was attracted to Buddhism, because I could do it, I could actually look at doubt, use doubt, rather than just try to suppress it or deny it, or just be lost in endless skepticism and doubt.
Teacher, can I ask you a question? I apologise for if this question is sensitive, because you're closer to the passing of this realm than probably most of us, but the reason I ask you is because I've been confronted with death a lot lately in my life, in terms of family members passing away, and so I've observed how it is that people pass away, at least in the Western system. And it's not really the way that I would like it to be. And so I am concerned, and I'm afraid also because my parents are getting older. And so my question is that it is like the storybooks that I read that, you know, people pass in peace with the last breath of peace. So is there something that we can do, or that I can do, and are famous, powerful monks like Ajahn and the like, have they passed in a different way than probably what mainstream people do in the Western hospital system? For example, can we pass away in peace with our last breath and not end up in hospital and you know, under sedation of morphine, for example? Can we plan our death, or is this mythology? Can we plan to pass in peace?
Well, Ajahn Chah used to have this saying called "die, go and die," which is die before you die, and it's very interesting because like right now at this moment you're experiencing consciousness through the form of your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind, and all these are subject to change in the present. Like what you see or hear, smell, taste, touch, think, or feel is in this continuous impermanent changingness, and everything that changes, it has a beginning and an end. And the awareness, that's what the emphasis on awareness or mindfulness is. Once you're aware of change, that awareness itself is something it isn't about a creation out of ignorance, it's the amata dhamma, the deathless reality of knowing in the present moment. And this you can't think about, it's beyond concept, but you can recognize it through meditation, through awareness. Because, you know, at this moment your death physical death seems like, you know, years away. Or you're concerned about your parents who are elderly. And we think, what happens when somebody dies? You know, so I get this question a lot. What do Buddhists believe? Where do you go when you die? And things like that. And I say, I don't know, I haven't died yet. But I can know that in the present moment, what arises ceases. So if you look at the basic statement of BuddhaBodhivana, all conditions are impermanent. That includes the body, the seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, feeling, sun and moon and stars, anything that, you know, objects of sight or sound, smell, taste, touch, concepts of time are all impermanent. And then with awareness, sati, sampajanya, these are Pali terms, is that opening, that we call it the door to the deathless, to ultimate reality. That with the mindfulness, then we begin to, it's the escape hatch from the cycles of birth and death that we're involved in while the body's still conscious and living. So, like for myself, just having meditated on that for so many years, you realize there's nothing to fear. And the nature of pure consciousness is peace. It's your true nature. You know, it's not something you get or lack. It's just unnoticed because we're so involved with liking or disliking what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think. So It's the Buddha's pointing at deathless, what they call the amatta dhamma, or ultimate reality, which isn't pointing out there. It's pointing, the emphasis is always recognizing it before you physically die, because this you can do. You can know this before you physically experience death.